All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, InsaneLear13. And today we are about to get underway here with TORA's MX-5 200-miler race here at the Eagle Rock Fictional Oval. In this event, we had about 40 drivers qualify, and the field is being split into two different lobbies, an A lobby and a B lobby, similar to TORA's normal scenarios. However, in this event, we are covering the top category, the A lobby today. We're going to act as if this is the only active lobby, even though there is a B lobby. So if you end up checking the TORA results after this is over, you'll probably see people in slightly different results where they actually will be. But I do anticipate that the people who will be at the front of the field at the end of this race will be the ones at the top of the timesheets at the end of the day. There are no yellow flags in this event, as far as I understand. This is how it's going to be. This is a 200-lap race, probably going to be 201 because they'll have a warm-up lap. When they get onto the track, the grid is going to be completely randomized top to bottom, and the lobby host will call out in order everybody in their qualifying order, and then that person will go forward and start rolling at 40 miles an hour. If they're not at the front, they will have to go a little faster, obviously, to catch the leader. The numbers I heard said that it would take about 2 minutes to get around the circuit from a standing start at 40 miles an hour. So within 2 minutes, we should see the entire field properly lined up. Once they hit the start-finish line, they'll be underway for a green flag, and it will just be a single stint. There's no multi-stint stuff like TORA normally does. So this is it. It's no, hey, we're trying to min-max distances. This is going to be all 100% racing, but there is going to be an element of interesting strategy at play, because to ensure that no one was tuning, this lobby has been set to stock fixed tunes. There's no tuning enabled. But what that also does is it means that all these cars, when they load into the circuit by default, will automatically have medium tires equipped on their cars instead of soft tires. And they will automatically be at full fuel loads, even though the full fuel load goes way, way farther than the soft or the medium tire can last. The numbers I ran very quickly, and the numbers I heard while talking to some of the people who are going to be in the B lobby, they said that we were looking at about 55 to 65 laps on mediums. Softs would be a little bit closer to 45 laps to make it. A full fuel tank, though, could last anywhere from 91 to 97 laps, depending on how much you're trying to save and how much time you spend in the draft. So obviously, the very opening stint of the race, drivers are going to be going a lot slower than they normally will. Now, with that in mind, some drivers are in the interesting conundrum. Okay, well, do I want to get out of the pack of cars and go and turn a bunch of laps in clean air? The big thing is everyone's going to be packed on top of each other early on, but as this event goes on, we do anticipate there's going to be some level of spread out. The other really, really big and important thing to consider, though, is you are going to see a lot of time gained from draft. The straights are long here. They're not ridiculously long, but they're long enough that you can catch a good draft and make up plenty of time. If you're on medium tires, running in the draft could actually make you almost as fast as running on the soft tires. There is a possibility, and one of the favorite strategies I'm hearing, is that everyone will try to take the medium tires a little bit past the 50-lap mark and then jump in to go on softs. For those of you who watch me when I cover the ISC races, I talk a lot about paying the piper, which is all about tire life. If you want to come in and get onto faster tires earlier than everyone else, you will almost immediately see a massive benefit in advantage when it comes to lap times, and you can make up a lot of time. However, that just means your tires will fall off faster than everyone else, and you will end up being slower, typically, near the end of the stint. Hence, that's why I call it paying the piper. That is going to be the really interesting thing, because if drivers decide to say, screw this, I've had enough of being in a pack, or some drivers may say, I don't want to be in the pack at all, they may elect to pit early to get onto the softs. If they're in clean air and the field just can't seem to put some good clean laps together, they could gain some time, but then they run the risk of losing it later. So it's going to be very interesting to see how long people stay on the medium tires. Everyone is anticipated to be on softs to the end after that point. Again, the fuel tank is going to be absolutely gigantic you have roughly a 90 to 97 lap fuel tank. So that very first pit stop is going to be a relatively quick one, probably the quickest one of the day, because I don't imagine very many drivers will put their fuel tanks all the way to full. They're probably going to set their fuel tank somewhere around the 50 to 60 lap mark for the second stint. So because they'll only be changing tires and then short fueling the fuel. That first pit stop of the 3 that we're anticipating everyone will make a stop around lap 50 to 65, then another stop somewhere between 95 and 110, and then a final stop somewhere between 145 and 155. That first pit stop will be the slowest of the 3 stops, and the cars will be at their fastest after that first pit stop is over. All right, we're gonna pause for 1 minute here to get a ad roll gone and out of the way, so that way we can minimize the number of in-race ads that will cut in, and then we're gonna get underway for the race proper here. Okay, well, so much for that. I guess you can't get ahead of the ads. That's hard. Okay, so no such luck getting an ad roll out here. I'm not going to be able to help you with that. Real quickly, just give you a quick look at the drivers who are going to be running in today's event. SFM Darkster is the driver hosting today's lobby. He's going to be running the number 24 machine. LMP Amoeba is going to be partaking as well. I'm guessing there's something wrong with that paint scheme from my end, because everyone should have a paint that was properly verified. RVA Chaos Fox is representing the number 34. Will Darrell 742 is in the number 42 machine. Dr. Here PhD is another driver who has not rated up yet, and I can't see their paint scheme, don't know what's going on there. Sprina is going to be partaking, as will ESV Green, and it looks like now we start getting into all these paints that aren't working. I apologize for that. Z-Wolf will be here, Corsi will be here, Nebel 8433 will be here. F1R Razor in the number 9 will be running. SDW Tsunami is going to be here. Dom is bored. Well, he's not going to be bored for very much longer. A few things will get the mind and the heart pumping, then a good long oval race. RZX J Reds will be running here. 724 number, the number 724 is going to be driven by I Love Fishy. Joey Sit 25 is going to be in this black, gold, and white. Number 25. You also will have C1 Clash in 54. We saw this driver a lot during the stream in the C lobby for Tora's 9 Hours of Kalami about 2 weeks back, so it's interesting to see a familiar name. King Cam Room is going to be here as well, and it looks like we are about to get underway here. ESV Green will be on the pole position here. Green said he was not happy with his fastest lap. He said that he felt that he left at least a 1/10 of a second on the circuit. So for ESV Green, I think his focus is going to be get a good start and just try to break away from the field. If he can get away from the field and make sure that no one is getting a draft off of him, he could be in a great position to the end of this race. The other thing that may have a big impact, though, will be traffic management. When drivers at the head of the field start finally putting drivers at the back of the field a lap down, getting around them cleanly is going to be a very, very, very difficult task. Not impossible, just difficult. Alright, and now we hope that there isn't anything bizarro that is going to screw over the lobby here. I'm going to change the ticker to hits for now. So as we know, ESV Green is your pole sitter for today's event in that number 72 black, red, and white machine. Alongside him is going to be RZX JJ Reds in this Purple 54. LMP Amoeba is going to be third place in the number 78. Fourth place on his outside is going to be King Cam Room in the 26. Then behind them is going to be F1 Razor in that number 9 Jack Daniels. Behind them will be Corsi in the 28. Following that will be Fishy. Fishy will be in 7th. 8th will be Dr. Chair PhD. As you see him bouncing around the second corner there. Then it will be followed up by Z-Wolf 187, followed by SCW Tsunami, and right behind Tsunami is Springa, as you see the two of them going by the line. Then will be SFM Darkster. Behind them will be Nebel 84.33. C1 Clash in 54 is going to be near the rear of the field in 14th. Then it will be Bam Silix, followed by Dom is Board, RV and Chaos Fox, Will Darrell, Zoroliak, and Goset 25. And this could be interesting because the drivers at the back have not caught the lead group yet. So these people at the front, they are going to hit the start-finish line before the last few drivers do. So this start procedure has not worked out in the way that was anticipated. There's about 4 cars that have not yet caught, and it looks like they're going 2 laps. So I was wrong. They're going to do 2 laps, not 1 lap. So they will have time to get the entire field gathered up here. So real quickly, we'll look at the last drivers as they come and bunched up at the rear of the field. This is Zoroliak. He helped host the one of the qualifying lobbies. Didn't expect to see him in lobby 1, but he is going to be in lobby 1. And then alongside him is going to be Joey ST25. That is Will Darrell and RV and Chaos Fox in the row just ahead of them. And there is Bam Silix in the 8th row, along with Dom is Board, C1 Clash in 54, and Nebel 84.33 is in the 7th row. But again, the focus, in my opinion, is really going to be on what the leaders can do. ESV Green and RZX JJ Reds. Green's the fastest person by far in qualifying by about a 1/10 of a second. He said that there was another 1/10 that he may have left on the table. If he can get a nice clean lap in right at the start, he might, no guarantee, he might be able to break the draft and get away with it here. The other big question is going to be, what is everyone's pit strategy going to be? Who is going to jump in and get rid of the medium tires first? Because they will immediately start getting some immense benefits. There's a lot of questions in the air. We have 200 miles to settle them as everyone straps in for one flying series of 200 laps here at Eagle Rock. We are underway, green flag, and it is a dead heat on the turn number 1. It looks like Red had his nose ahead as they went into turn 1, but the inside line advantage means that Green will complete the pass and will be ahead by the time they get out of turn 2. Reds is right behind. Now he looks to the inside. Now he's going to fall back in line. The draft is so powerful, but right now Reds is going to stay right in line behind Green for the moment. Then it's LMP Amoeba behind him. Then you get Razor, and then it starts getting really chaotic for the back. And Neville, 84.33. He is going to be the first one to get off these medium tires. He is pitting very early on. There is a risk that he may go a lap down very early as he puts these softs on. Okay, so right now, Green and Reds run first and second, 2 colors leading the field. LMP Amoeba is hanging out in 3rd, not as close to second as second is to first right now. The entire field has mostly single filed out, although we are seeing a few attempts at movements farther back in the middle of the field. There is a bit of a gap that is starting to form between 11th and 12th. SFM Darkster seems to be having a little bit of trouble as number 24, keeping the draft on the cars ahead as we're seeing splits already starting to develop in the field. And yes, I've got bad news for Neville. Neville is about to go a lap down. The leaders are in turn 2 now. Neville is just now coming out of pit road. You can see him on the camera. He's just barely ahead. In fact, Neville is going to be giving Green a tow here. So this could end up getting very interesting because now Green is going to have the advantage of draft. The leader getting a draft advantage early on is not something that would have been anticipated. Neville, again, he has the soft tires. He should be a little bit faster in the corners, but Green is going to be faster in the straights. The big question, of course, can Green hold on? Now we see Amoeba getting JJ Reds a bit of a push on the rear bumper in the middle of the corners, trying to give him a bit of a NASCAR-style slam draft to catch the 2 of them up to Green, but Green is slowly pulling away. We already knew he was one of the fastest drivers here. Now it's in the draft. He is starting to pull away. Amoeba says, I don't have the time for this. He's looking to the inside of JJ Reds. We may have a fight for second already developing here. The other really important thing to consider, these cars are at their heaviest and slowest that they are right now. Drivers who are performing well now may not be performing as well later, and vice versa. Reds still is within draft of Green, but he is not as close as he was earlier in the event because your leader is getting a massive tow from Neville, who decided to get off of the medium tires on the first racing lap of the day. This also means that Neville will still likely have to make 3 more stops. So Neville is going to have to try and outrun an entire extra pit stop, and I just don't know if it's going to happen. I think if he came out a little bit farther ahead of the field and they weren't getting a draft off him, he might have been able to make it work, but right now, he is basically leading the entire entire field around and artificially keeping all of them way, way faster than I think their actual pace would dictate. A little bit of movement farther back in the field right now. This is outside of the top 5 position. You see the 888 machine trying to hold off King Cameroon and STW Tsunami right behind. They are too wide there for the 7th position. Here comes a move to the inside of that 888 machine. Is it going to be a deep dive? Yes, Tsunami slides it in. The rear tires, you can see, just sliding a little bit. It's going to trap the 888 on the outside. The outside line, while it's not bad, it's just not nearly as fast as the inside. He loses 2 positions in 2 corners. And now that 888 machine is going to fall to about the 8th position. Make that maybe even the 9th spot if this goes bad. Fishy is on their inside, and behind Fishy is Z-Wolf right now. So that 888 being trapped on the outside line has not helped, and Fishy tries to lunge, but the 888 has gotten down into the ideal inside line, and he's put tires on the below the white line just slightly, just to try and get the car a little bit extra turn mid-corner. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, here's the big news when it comes to Nebel. He is still leading, still basically being the Pied Piper in the 64, but Green has caught him. So now the question is, Green seems to think that with the draft, he is faster than Nebel. Is he going to try and force Nebel to give him track position, or does he just want to run behind and let this car with nice soft tires pull him around faster in the straights, and then he closes in the corners? Because here's the problem. You see right there, JJ Reds is right there on Green's rear bumper as putting your race leader under significant pressure right now. Out the back of Nebel's machine. As you see the leaders right behind, he is not a lap down yet. Green has not made the move to try and get by him for good yet. JJ Reds is still tucked up right behind ESV Green for the moment. Most of the field is single filed out, and the grid is starting to spread apart as well. It seems like the top 5 cars or so are all in a line with each other, and even then there is a split that's starting to form between 2nd and 3rd, JJ Reds and LMP Amoeba. Alright, now we see Green look to the outside. He briefly touches the outside wall as he is tucked up right behind Nebel's rear bumper. This strategy just has not worked out in Nebel's favor. It's 13 laps in. If he wanted to make this strategy work, he needs to be away from the leaders at this point. The good news is, Nebel is going to make up a good amount of time on other drivers. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to get around the fact that he will basically have to make an entire extra stop. These soft tires are definitely faster, or fast enough to get him up to about 6th or 7th, but I don't think it's going to be anything more than that. And Zabroliak is also going to get off the tires. It is only lap 13 coming out of 14, but Zabroliak, who was stuck in the back of the field, is going to pit now. This could get really interesting. Nebel has spent a bunch of laps already on these tires. Zabroliak spent a good amount of time on the mediums, though. I wonder, will Nebel, as he has been running in clean air, be able to get by Zabroliak? And where Zabroliak ends up might end up having a massive impact into how the rest of this field ends up lining up here. Well, you can see on the map there in the corner that as of now, Nebel has already gotten by Zabroliak. Zabroliak is not even going to be able to close to the top spots. And the big thing is, unless there's something going on that I'm not aware of, Zabroliak is going to still have to make 3 more stops. Now, all of his next 3 stops, he can short fuel them a little bit. He doesn't have to put as much fuel in potentially. He could be making stops closer to about lap 60, lap 110, and lap 155, but still, he'll likely have to make 3 more stops, and those extra 10th or 2 tenths saved in the pits and get shorter fuel tank may not be enough to make up the fact that he's basically committed to a 4-stop strategy. Right now, no one else has done that, and if you look here on the map, Zabroliak is dead right in the middle of the field right now. Nebel with that early pit stop is still ahead of your leaders. There's not been any change The top three are still in the same order they were at the start of this event. The big thing, though, is that JJ Reds, he'll get close to green, get right on him, tries to make a move, and then he falls off and he slips back and falls into the clutches of LMP Amoeba. The two of them kind of hook up a bit, and gradually Reds recovers and gets close back into green. The thing is, as this goes on, as long as green continues to have the draft from Zeroliak, I just don't know if that strategy is going to continue to work. It works for now, but how much longer is it actually going to work for? All right, a little bit farther back, we see King Cameron, who is running in the 10th position right now. He is in the middle of this kind of bunched up pack here in the midfield. You see lots of movements, lots of overtakes being made here, and I do think that if this group single filed out and could get into a nice line, they could be just as fast as your leaders. The problem is they all spend so much time fighting that they're killing each other's momentum on the exit of the corner because of how the track tightens up on corner exit, and that seems to be causing a lot of problems with letting this group keep touch with the lead pack. We see now Cameron getting to the inside of SCW Tsunami. Tsunami trapped on the outside. There should be enough room for Tsunami to slot in line behind before Springa gets by. Credit to Springa. Springa has actually recovered a few positions from where they were early on, but it seems like a lot of the positions have just really not done much changing here. It may just come down to pit stop sequences. It feels like I'm reminded a little bit of watching the NASCAR's Pinty series at the new Hampshire 1 mile oval. The cars are fine, they aren't problematic, there's just not really enough power and not really enough grip to really enable alternate strategies or alternate fights or anything to really form. So here's something interesting. Neville has actually pulled a little bit on ESV Green at this point of the race, and Amoeba has gotten by JJ Reds. In fact, Reds is now trapped on the outside there, and that is F1R Razor who has slipped by. So Reds, who started second on the outside of the front row, it has taken about a tenth of the race, but he has now slipped back to fourth position. So it does seem like the draft is incredibly important, but is not going to save you and permanently keep you in position. Now it is time for Amoeba to see if he can run down Green. The thing is, right now, Green is tucked up behind Zeroliak, and the two of them are starting to pull away from second position. Here comes the move for a second. Razor goes to the inside of the number 78. And as this group continues to fight, your leader continues to move ahead, and now we see JJ Reds now to the inside of Amoeba. So I wonder if this group kind of realizes, okay, we don't have any chance to fight with Green. Green, with that draft advantage that he is getting from from Neville, means that by default they can't really do anything to him. I think this group for second realizes there's no chance of winning this race unless Green loses that car ahead of him. They just decide to all try to settle out for themselves and hope something happens to Green. All right, you can see there Razor trapped on the outside of JJ Reds, as Reds has now made his way back into second. So now drivers not really hyper-focused and staying in line anymore. There's a lot more jockeying for position that we're seeing at this stage of the event. Green still runs in first, tucked up right behind Neville. And I think that draft is going to be everything for Green. If this race could be massively different. If Neville didn't make that stop lap 1, we could be talking about a much, much different tune at the front here. As we look in turns 3 and 4, and we see our field dive in, and it looks like Green's going to the inside of Neville. If they spend too much time side by side, that will compromise their ability to get through, and it will slow Green down. Green falls back in line behind Neville as they come by the start-finish line. Ride on the top of RZX J-Red's car. You see Amoeba, Razor, J-Reds, and then it's a little bit behind them, fourth seat, well, long ways behind them, fourth seat, all doing that. And there we are, Bam Silex in 18th, last on the field. They're going to go ahead and pit on lap 25. So now we're in the zone where I wonder if you're in Silex's position, are you going to go ahead and try to stretch the soft tires long in all the remaining stints and make it only a 3-stop? I don't think it will work. I think the tires will be in horrible position, but Silex was already trapped in the back of the field. There was already a risk that he wasn't going to be able to gain any more positions. He's rolling the dice, trying something alternate. I wonder if Silex is going to be able to make it a 3-stop race, or is he pitted too early and he's still going to be forced and locked into a 4-stop scenario. As it is right now, though, Silex is basically guaranteed to be behind Neville. Is going to be just about guaranteed to be behind Zwerliak as well. As we continue to watch this fight for a second, if we ride on board with JJ Reds, the drafting enables so many overtakes, so easy. And these drivers aren't losing too much time. They're only losing probably less than 10. Oh, wow, you can see that big bounce off of the apron by Amoeba. And now Amoeba is trapped on the outside. Corsi moves up in the third, has a big toe off of F1R Razor. He's going to close in. And as they dive into turn number 1, no move yet, but it seems like Corsi's having a little bit smoother of a time mid-quarter. He gives Razor a hit in the left rear quarter panel, trying to really force that Mazda to get moving a little bit faster out of the corner. Now Reds has a run on both of them. Is he going to make a move? No, he's going to back out of the throttle a little early. Corsi, though, is going to make a dive to the inside of Razor. Now Corsi moves up into the second position. Green continues to hang out behind Neville. Neville is the only driver who's already made a stop, but is still on the lead lap. And now we see Reds moving to the inside here. All right, I apologize for that. As we look at the back of Red's car, you see that Razor has gotten to his inside, and now Reds is trapped on an outside line. Corsi is coming up. Corsi has gotten back by Amoeba. Corsi has a big run of steam here on Reds. He's trying to set up for a run, potentially a dive into turn 1. Is there going to be room? No. Reds defends the inside well enough for the moment to keep them safe. So only 3 drivers have already made their pit stops. Right on the start of this race, Neville, not the little start, but lap 1 of the race, Neville jumped in the pit lane, put on soft tires. He has hooked up with ESP Green, and the 2 of them are scooted away from the rest of the field. Then around lap 12, Zwerliak went ahead and got off his medium tires. More than likely, he will still have to make 3 more stops. He is trapped in midfield and is a lap down. And Bam Silex made a stop about 25 laps in, so about halfway through the anticipated length of the first stint. He is all the way in last place at the moment. And you can see Green has actually fallen off just a little bit compared to F1 to Neville. I think he's still close enough to still have a draft off of Neville, but it does seem like we're at a position where now that the field's spread out a bit, I wonder if there's something up here that is letting Neville pull away, other than the fact that obviously he has tires. Because here's the thing, his soft tires should be burning up faster than Green's mediums. You would think that as the stint goes on, the softs continue to fall back and fall into the clutches and the mediums, but that's not what we're seeing right now with Green and Neville. Neville is now, it's taking him way longer than he wanted to, but he is starting to pull away from the leader. With the way it looks right now, I think Neville, if no one else gets off of any weird strategies or anything, I think Neville could end up at around 15th or so. Might be a little bit better, but it's going to be really interesting. And I looked real quickly at Zwerliak. Zwerliak is trapped in the back of this big pack of cars, a lap down right now, in the middle of the field, and he's not really making any move. Now again, he went a lot longer on the mediums, lost a little bit more lap time because the softs are about a quarter to a half second a lap faster in clean air, but he is running all these laps in draft right now, not making any moves. I wonder if he's just trying to save fuel, save tires. I don't think he can make the rest of this race on only 2 more stops. I don't think the soft tires will last, but maybe that's the strategy. I'm a little bit more interested in Bam Silex. Bam Silex is a little bit behind Zwerliak at the moment. He is in the middle, not at the tail end of a fight. He is in the dead middle of the fight. He is doing a lot of drafting shenanigans right now. I think it's an off chance, but he might be able to do it. And there's SFM Darkster. Darkster is going to be our 4th man to pit, and he's doing it around lap 34. So now, with Darkster, we are really going to start seeing where things are going to turn out, because Darkster's getting off the medium tires early enough that I think he can still jump on the soft scale while the advance from pitting early, but he's going to have to pay the piper. He's going to be paying the piper at the end of every fuel stint and every tire stint, but he's going to be on softs for several laps, potentially 12.5 laps, before most of the rest of the field gets off the mediums. Darkster could pull off a massive strategy windfall here. I don't know if it's going to work. It's a big question, but Darkster, with having pitted on lap 34, I think it will be close. I think, can nurse the tires long enough to only make 2 more stops doing so. All right, so where's Darkster going to end up relative to Zeroliak and Silux? As you can see, coming onto the circuit, it looks like Darkster is going to be behind Zeroliak, but ahead of Silux. Darkster now in turn 3, so he's already up to speed. The only downside is, I don't know if he's caught draft, but Darkster has gotten ahead of Silux. Now, mind you, Silux was at the back of the field when he made his stop. Darkster was in the middle of the field, so it may not be a case that Darkster was faster overall, but yes, he was taking advantage of the track position he already had to stay ahead of Silux. Silux is a lot closer to him than where they were before, but still, this is a pretty significant gain. All right, here's the other thing to consider. At the front, ESV Green has completely walked away from the field. Unless Green gets involved in some sort of accident, it seems like a surefire, obvious scenario. He's going to win by default. Again, if we didn't see Zeroliak pit lap 1, I think we could speak in a massively different tune because the entire drafting pack would have been packed up on him. He would have been the one leading the way. But you can see Darkster is already putting these soft tires to use. He is immediately making moves, going into the corners, trying to cut his way up through traffic. Right now, he has a lap down around compared to the people around, but he is making moves that most of these other drivers just don't feel the confidence to. Gal tried to make a move there on Fishy, couldn't make it stick. But he's right there tucked up behind, and you see some of these other drivers, you know, they're getting to that monotony. If they're not hyper-focused, their brain might be fading out a little bit. They're going to have a little bit of trouble holding that inside line. You can see Darkster, who's really on top of it, making some moves right now. So Darkster is still behind Zeroliak, but not by much. Zeroliak is just a little ways up the track. So Darkster might be able to catch Zeroliak. The big thing, though, is that Darkster is going to have fresher tires than Zeroliak for the moment, and both of them are still on soft, while everyone around them is still on the mediums that they started on. We are about to get to lap 40. If you really wanted to say, okay, well, screw it, I want off these mediums, this is about the time that I think you could get onto the soft tires. And there's a spin! There's trouble! Who was that? That was Zeroliak! And Zeroliak, oh, and he's been hit hard, but it's a massive impact! And that was Joey SYT, a gigantic impact! Zeroliak spun and he came back up across the track, and now Joey ends up slamming the crap out of him in the door. Both cars are going to be terminally damaged. Joey just has barely enough momentum to keep the car going. Looks like Zeroliak has a slightly more functioning engine, but both those cars are going to have to pit. This is going to take both of them completely out of the running. Again, we're not running yellow flags. This is just a sprint over into the end. I'm sure Joey's not very happy about that, but this takes Joey out of the running. Any possibility that Zeroliak had of trying to make an alternate strategy work, that's gone as well. Fishy trying to make some moves in the midfield. But here's the big thing from my perspective. Darkster now is ahead of everyone who pitted early except for Nebel, and Nebel is starting to finally scoot away from the field. He has lost ESV Green. Green is stuck all by himself right now. And then you have this fight from second, third, fourth, and fifth. There's 4 cars there. They're all drafting together, but they spend more time fighting each other than actually trying to run Green down right now. So right now, I think the big contenders for this win, Green, statistically, if I had to put numbers on it, I think Green has about an 80% chance of winning this race. I believe that you're looking at roughly a 4% chance even for Razor, J-Reds, Corsi, and Amoeba, and then Darkster, who is in 7th, on an alternate strategy, may have a 4% chance as well of winning this event. I think if you're not in those top 5 positions, or you're not Darkster, you may be in trouble. Now, if this driver here, Dr. Chair PhD, goes ahead, gets off the mediums in this lap or the next lap, and jumps onto the softs and goes the rest of the way on soft, the softs will be hurting a little bit near the end of the sense, but I think he might be able to drag himself into an outside contention. But realistically, for the overall race win, I think it's the top 5, and then maybe Darkster on an alternate strategy. We don't know. We can't tell you what that result's going to turn out like yet. So Will Darrell 742 and Dom is board have both lost the draft, so they have just, as the stint has gone on, not been able to keep up. They have lost touch. There's still movements going on in this fight from about 2nd to 5th. There is no real stress for these drivers to actually try and run down Green. I think they've all, like I said earlier, I think they've all realized there's no real chance to run down the race leader, so they're all just kind of tucked up behind each other at the moment. and then they'll make moves whenever they think they can. I'm really interested to see, of these 4 drivers all tucked on top of each other, when they'll all start making positions, well, not positions, but more like movements into the pit lane, and how that would change their positions once they all get onto the track. A lap or 2 in cleanish air with soft tires could be a big benefit. The other thing to consider is that we are at the point where these drivers will have burned off about half of their fuel load. Again, because of the way the lobby was set up, everyone was on medium tires and a full fuel load right at the start of this event. Joey is making a second pit stop, so something must have been wrong, but now he's going to be trapped several laps down here. Once I've seen that everyone has made a pit stop, I will change the ticker to time intervals to the leader. But for right now, because the big question is when are drivers going to be getting off the medium tires and getting on the softs, I will keep it on pits for a while. But for Zwerliak and Joey ST, their race is basically done with that big accident. Zwerliak spun in the corner, turn number 1 to be exact, and the car came back up across the track, and Joey ST had nowhere to go and absolutely drilled him in the door. So those 2 drivers absolutely out of the running. They just need a lot of chaos if they want to pick up any positions right now. So Razor is in second, J-Red's third, Amoeba fourth, fifth is Corsi. And it looks like 6th place could potentially catch them. Dr. Share PhD has kind of gotten away from the rest of the field. Oh wait, is that Darkser? Is that Darkser who was in the middle of this pack? Yes, that is Darkser! Darkser on the soft tires has absolutely made hay. He is still left down to these drivers, but he has cut his way up to this pack. Again, the big thing for Darkser, he is still on soft tires, but he has to press these softs much, much farther than everyone else for the remainder of this race. But I think that Darkser still has a possibility of making it only a 3 stop. He'll have to be careful with the soft tires near the end of his stint, but Darkser could be in a very, very interesting scenario, because look at him. He is just muscling his way through this field here. I knew that he was faster. I did not realize he was so much faster. He was already caught this pack of cars. Now, there's a big gap between where he is now and your current leader, ESV Green. He is not fast enough yet, at least, to get himself back on the lead lap. But the soft tires absolutely are showing the ability to go faster. We know that Neville has already pulled away from your race leader right now. So I do think that Darkser will have the advantage to continue to run Green down. The longer that Green stays on track, the better and better circumstances may look for Darkser here. The big thing, though, is that right now Darkser has a pack of cars all tucked up behind him, all looking to try and get back by him, I would imagine. But if this group all stays in single file and just stays behind Darkser, they could have Darkser try and drag them back up to the leaders. I don't know if it's going to happen. There's a massive gap between first and second right now, but Darkser may be fast enough to drag these drivers back up to the leader using the draft. The big thing, though, as we look at ESV Green, who is currently leading the race at the moment, he is behind another car. Now, it is Zwerliak, who had not been exactly the fastest even when he was on soft tires, but Green is still going to have some draft advantage. No! Zwerliak touches the outside wall. Green has to actually make a move to the inside. He will kill a little bit of his momentum, but I don't think it's going to be enough to really change the distance between himself and second right now. All right, and Cher in 6th position. Here we are. It's lap 51 out of 202. And now we see Cher is going to pit. He is the first of the lead. Well, he's not really in the lead group, but he is going to pit a little bit earlier than everyone else. No one else is joining him yet. But this is about the time that I expect to see a lot more people getting off the mediums. So how long is Cher going to have this advantage? We know he's going to go a lap down to the leader. That's almost a given. The question is going to be, where is Cher going to end up relative to Darkser? And then he's going to be on fresher tires now than what Darkser has at the moment. He's going to be absolutely pounding the laps out. Where is he going to end up relative to Darkser? Darkser is already... He's not totally broken the draft in second, but he is breaking it apart. All right, you can see on track that little dot that's starting to merge onto the circuit in turn 2. That is Cher. So Cher is going to end up behind Darkser, but how much behind Darkser? Oh, maybe not. Oh, he's coming out. He is still ahead of Darkser. He has lost most of the track advantage that he had compared to Darkser, but he is still ahead of Darkser. So this is interesting. And making that early pit stop, is that going to be enough to get Cher up into the fight for second to fifth? But now Darkster is behind somebody who is going to be on fresher tires than him. Lap 54 at the moment. Again, the first 2 laps don't really count. They were pace laps to get the field ordered up and gridded up. But I said earlier, if Cher goes ahead and makes a pit stop nice and early, compared to the drivers ahead, he might be able to take advantage of trying to bunch the laps in clean air. Right now, Cher is dragging Darkster around the circuit, and this duo, Darkster and Cher, they have lost that pack from about second to fifth at the moment. That pack is in the order right now. JJ Reds, LMP Amoeba, and Corsi. ESV Green continues to lead, but this duo is starting to run down. And Neville, who had pitted on the very first lap, he is coming in to make his second stop. Now, it got him ahead of the leaders, and he spent a lot of time ahead of the race leader, but he will go a lap down now. Neville is basically committed to a 4-stop strategy, and I hate to say it, while Neville absolutely was one of the faster drivers in that first stint, he is not fast enough to outrun this 4th stop. And that's going to be big, important news for Darkster, because if Darkster is not able to outrun that pit stop, if he has to make a 4th stop, he could be in a lot of hurt. All this track position that he's gained early on might end up slipping away from him later on. But at the moment, this is where the fight is going to be for likely second, potentially the win. Cher and PHT, who are on a massively alternate pit stop strategy from everyone else who's currently in the lead. Cher was up in 6th before making their stop, and no one else has made their stop yet. It seems like a lot of these drivers want to go ahead and run the medium tires until the mediums fall off. Now, there is an advantage to that because the medium fall off isn't going to be as extreme as the soft fall off, but also that means that when everyone else does get on the soft tires, they don't really have to worry about the softs falling off. And that's the big thing for Darkster, and a slightly less important but still important thing for Dr. Cher. Those drivers are going to be dealing with a lot more tire fall off at the end of the stint. When we get to the pit stop, it's going to be around lap 100. When we get to the pit stop, it's going to be around lap 155. These drivers are going to be in worse position on their tires, and they're going to have to stretch it a little farther. They're flying right now, but it could really hurt them later on. But again, right now, we're not seeing that fall off. These two are absolutely still closing on your race leader, and I think we may see some more drivers pitting here shortly, but it's just not happened yet. We continue to look at this fight for 2nd through 4th. Corsi, Reds, Amoeba, Razor, all have been on top of each other basically since about lap 10. Now, we have seen on soft tires Darkster rush up, pass, overtake them, and get away from them, but these 4 seem to be the best drivers when it comes to making a draft work. They have pulled away from the rest of the field. Then you have this massive pack of cars from about 6th all the way back to 9th, and then they also have some lap people running with them, so that's the next pack, and then everything else starts to fall apart. Oh, a bit of a tire slide there by Corsi and Reds. Again, I look at your race leader, Green. Green has not really had the advantage of draft for a while, and has actually had to force and pick his way through traffic. Not a lot of traffic, but he has had to worry about traffic a bit here, and I've just got to think, for Green, is this really where he wants to be? He had that great advantage of running behind the car on soft tires early on to give him a lot of position, but now he is completely solo. All of his rivals are running in draft with each other. I think there's a risk that Green, if he ends up losing this race, it's going to be because of the second half of this stint. Now, I could be wrong. I could be talking out my rear. He does still have a significant advantage over 2nd place, but I don't think Green is really racing 2nd on track. I think Green is racing Dr. Cher and SFM Darkster at the moment. And Dr. Cher is not that far behind Green, and he is dragging Darkster up with him. Darkster pitted very early. Cher pitted just slightly early, but even then, we're still looking at Cher. He's pitted 12 laps ago, so there's still going to be absolutely some significant... Oh, and there's some sort of tire slide I can hear. Couldn't tell who that was, but there is lap traffic that's a little bit up the road from Green. That's Rurliak and Joey ST. Those two drivers are still racing each other for position, it looks like. And I heard a little bit of tire slide from, I believe it was Rurliak, and now Joey's going to get by. And that's the thing, if Green catches this pack, these drivers are on soft tires. That might be enough to save him and pull him back ahead of Cher and Darkster. The gap between first and second, though, continues to grow, and I really think that comes down to the fact that that fight from second and fifth continues on, and they keep spicing up and they keep making position changes between each other. Now, here's something that really interests me. 14th place, Will Darrell, and 13th place, Thomas Board. They have gone so long on the medium tires. Why have they not decided to roll the dice? Why have these two drivers not decided to jump in and pull on the soft tires? You can put on the soft tires and make them last to the end of the stint without problem. Go ahead, get on the soft tires, even if it's only a lap or two. Any sort of advantage is going to be helpful. These drivers are at risk of going a lap down by the time we get to the halfway distance of this race at the rate that they're going. They need any advantage they can get right now. I'm really, really shocked that these two, Thomas Board and Will Darrell, have not decided to go ahead and try to make a pit stop at this stage of the event. So again, the focus is on 15th and 16th place, Dr. Care and SFM Darkster. Care has just about caught the leader. In fact, you can see them both. He is now within the draft. Darkster has fallen off of Care's rear bumper just a bit. I wonder if Darkster is dealing with a bit of tire fall off. If Darkster is dealing with a bit of tire fall off, this could be interesting because maybe the softs fall off faster than we were anticipating, or maybe he just made a mistake and I'm reading too much into it. But Darkster pitted about lap 25. We're at 65, so 40 laps in. Darkster may have started to lose the touch, and Green is coming in the pits. Just as Care caught our leader, Green is going to come into the pits. And I think this puts the entire field by default on watch, on note, because with the leader pitting now, he is going to have fresher tires than the rest of the field. He still has a massive advantage on track compared to most of the other drivers. I think pitting early may make it to where Green has to fight Care and Darkster and is not fighting the likes of Reds, Amoeba, Razor, and Tsunami. But this is going to get really interesting. All right, Thomas Board, who is in 13th position, has also gone ahead and committed to making a stop about the time I said. So right now, at least, Dom is just mimicking Green's pit stop strategy. But a lot of drivers are taking these medium tires much, much, much longer than where we thought they were. But I think that's all changing now because Razor, one of the drivers in that fight for the top 5, he has now gone ahead and made a pit stop. All right, Dr. Care has already gotten by ESV Green. Your leader now is Horsey, but I really want to see where is Care going to end up relative to Green. That is the big question. Green is coming onto the track now ahead of Dr. Care, and Green is still on circuit well ahead of Dr. Care at the moment. Care, while he caught Green on track, the pit stop is not quite a full lap, so in the end, Green is still going to win this race. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think with this, the way it's gone, unless something really crazy happens, Green has this race won by default. Care may be on soft tires, but now Green's on the soft tires and can pound out some incredible laps without problem. I do think that Care's decision to pit when he did might bring him into the fight for a second, but as it looks now, Green, with that massive track advantage that he has pulled out and held, I think it means that he is going to win this by default. So now the fight's just going to be for second. Corsi is still on track along with JJ Reds and Amoeba. 3 of these drivers all still together, but the one who had been in the middle that made it a quattro, Razor, has made his pit stop, and Razor, compared to this group, you can see him on track. He is way, way behind, nearly a full lap behind this group. He's got soft tires, but no draft at the moment. We still have less than half of the field has made. Yeah, less than half the field have actually made their first stop at this stage of the race. First through 11th, they have not made a pit stop yet. And I have to wonder, are those drivers going to try and potentially two-stop it? It would be a big ask. But could that be the strategy by some of these drivers like Horsey, like Red, like Amoeba, all the way down to the likes of Chaos Fox and Darrell? Could they try and push these mediums all the way to lap 90? 90 is about the time where the fuel tank burns off. Are you going to try and push the mediums that far and then go ahead and jump into another set of mediums later and then just run softs for a shorter stint? I don't know. That's a bold strategy, and I don't know if it's a good one. Darkster has lost touch with Care, and that's the big thing. If the soft tires fall off in about 40 laps, that might be the strategy. Sure, you're not going to be faster on track, but could these drivers in the top 11 be going for a two-stop? A pit around lap 90, and then another pit sometime around lap 170, 160 or so, where they'll throw on softs to the end and be flying near the end of the race. I'm not sure. It's really, really strange to see that all these drivers have gone so much farther past where we anticipated the ideal crossover point for pit stops to be. Green, we're almost guaranteed, is going to make 3 stops total, but these drivers may be doing a two-stopper. I did not calculate the possibility of a two-stopper, and again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could be a possibility. Trying to cut out an entire pit stop cycle and running as many laps as you can in clean air, or not in clean air, but in good draft, could be the call. All right, Z-Wolf is going to pit. He was in the 6th position. At the moment, he's going to lose a bunch of positions. We anticipate he's going to be in the middle of the field. The big thing is that somehow, I've missed something here. Well, I've been focusing on that. We have a shame that this could be huge. ESV Green has fallen behind Dr. Cher. I'm not sure what's happened. I completely missed it. I apologize for that. But Green, the driver who dominated the first quarter of this race, he has slipped now behind Dr. Cher. Now, mind you, Green has fresher tires. He's going to have more fuel. He can go longer. But for the moment, a very unexpected change of event. Green is behind someone on position on track. He's not just behind someone who's on an alternate lap. That driver ahead of Green, Dr. Cher, is someone who legitimately is ahead of him on position. I don't know what happened to Green. Green had about a 4 to 5 second advantage over Cher after he got out of the pit lane and got up to speed, so I'm not sure what happened. I will go ahead and say maybe something in that car and for that driver's driving style does not agree with the soft tires. No guarantee, but maybe that's what it is. And Dr. Cher is still making moves, still trying to cut through the field, trying to put as much distance between himself and ESV Green as possible. Again, we know that in single lap and completely clean air, Green is the fastest driver here, but the big thing is that on an oval, getting clean air is a really temporary thing. You might get 1, 2, 3 laps in clean air. You're going to spend a lot more time trying to navigate traffic and dealing with draft, pulling you in the straight line, and then hurting your cornering ability mid-corner. First, second, and third have all come in. J-Reds, Corsi, and Amoeba have all come in on lap 75. So, I wonder, is this trio, are they going to jump onto medium tires? If they jump onto medium tires again, they could go potentially to about lap 150 or so, and then throw on the sauce for the last 50 laps of the race. Could those, C1 Clash in 54 is going to make a stop as well. Okay, so now we're going to see things get interesting. Amoeba, Corsi, J-Reds, where are they going to end up relative to Razor? Because mind you, Razor was in the middle of the fight with them, but he pitted well before that group. Is he going to end up ahead of them, even with them, or behind them? He has not had draft. He has been running in almost completely clean air, but he's got soft tires, so he'll be faster in the corners, slower in the straights. Those three drivers would all be slower in the corners, faster in the straights. And Razor is ahead of Amoeba. He is going to be ahead of Corsi and ahead of J-Reds. He is still accelerating away from them. Yes, pitting early has gotten Razor ahead. So now the leader turns to Love Fishy. Love Fishy ahead of Tsunami at the moment. But these drivers have gotten farther on their medium tires than anyone else. And the farther and farther they're going, the more and more I think that these drivers in the top 6 are doing a two-stop strategy. Now we see Springer, who is in the top 5. He's going to go ahead and make a pit stop right now. But again, the big thing, the real interesting thing that I'm curious about is going to be, could these drivers, Fishy, Cameron, Tsunami, Springer, Chaos Fox, Daryl, Razor, Corsi, and Amoeba, could those drivers end up going ahead and making it a two-stop race to try and overcome that massive advantage that ESV Green opened up early on? And mind you, Green's not been perfect. Somehow he lost a bunch of time. He has fallen behind Cher, and look who's behind him. That's Darkster. Mind you, Darkster has been on this set of soft tires for about 54 laps at this stage of the race, and he is still pounding away without issue here. Yeah, Darkster has not lost Cher, and he has caught the leader even after making pit stops with a driver who had been lean early on, even after making pit stops. So a very interesting situation here. Dr. Cher is now going to put Will Darrell lap down. Darrell has not made a pit stop. Cher has made a stop, so I hate to say it for Darrell. It's not looking great for him. ESV Green is getting a big push by Darkster. TORA officials working to get, well, I don't think Green's actually a TORA official, I shouldn't say that. A little bit of a work together for the moment, but Darkster will throw Green to the side. I think Green just is not very happy with the way this car handles on softer tires with a lower fuel load. He just does not seem to have the pace to keep up. All right, Love Fishy is coming in, and King Cameron is coming in. So this will now give the lead to SCW Tsunami, as SFM Darkster now moves to the inside and will scoop by ESV Green. Green, who is absolutely strong, the strongest person in the first quarter of the race, is showing weakness. Did he build up enough of a gap early on that he can afford this loss of time here, as SCW Tsunami is now your leader. He is the only driver on track who has not yet made a stop. What is Tsunami's strategy? Could he try a one-stop? I don't think so. Real quickly as I go ahead, I pull up the telemetry. I want to see what his tires are like. 59 on that right front. He does have 15% left in the tank. I don't think, though, that he can make this a one-stopper, but Tsunami has taken this set of medium tires much farther than I think anyone recognized. If Tsunami could, no guarantee, if he really thinks he's good at managing tires, though, he could try and make it a two-stopper still, but instead of it being medium soft, he could go medium soft. No guarantee. I can't confirm that's what he's actually going to do, but that is a possibility that we could be looking at for SCW Tsunami. The interesting thing, though, is that Cher is still about a half lap behind Tsunami, and Cher will inherit the lead once Tsunami pits. So right now, Tsunami still has a massive on-track advantage against all these other drivers. So Tsunami trying potentially a radically alternate strategy, maybe a medium soft. He'd have to be very cautious, very safe with the tires, but maybe that's his strategy, going so much farther than anyone else. So for those of you who are just joining in that missed the earlier parts of this race, a real quick summary. ESV Green was your pole sitter, dominated in qualifying. At the start, he took the lead. Lap 1, Neville, 84.33, pitted on the very first lap to get off the medium tires, because the way this event is set up, everyone was by default put on medium tires with full fuel load at the start of the race. Neville pitted on lap 1. He came out right ahead of the leaders. He ended up dragging our pole sitter, Green, away from the rest of the field as the two of them kind of pulled away, and then later on, Green lost touch with them. No one else made a lot of pit stops until we saw Zoroliak made a stop around lap 12. Around lap 25, we saw Darkster make a stop. And then, about 10 laps after that, Joey made a stop. Then we saw a spin. Zoroliak and Joey ended up having an accident that's basically taking them out of the running. Bam Silos also made a stop around that period as well. About lap 50, we saw Dr. Cher go ahead and make a pit stop. Cher ended up catching the leader after making a stop, trying to get back on the lead lap. Then Green made a stop about lap 65. He's come out, but since he has gotten on the softer tires, Green has not been as fast as he was on the medium. He has slipped and fallen behind drivers who have been on tires for much longer than he has. Tsunami is now making a pit stop. Since that time, we've seen everyone else make a stop except for Tsunami, and Tsunami is making his stop now. We think that maybe they're about half the field, or about maybe closer to 45% of the field, maybe trying a two-stop strategy, maybe trying to go medium soft to cut out a pit stop. But I do believe that everyone at the head of the field is committed to a three-stop strategy right now, and then we know that Neville is locked into a four-stop strategy, and really he's just trying to outrun a good but not good enough first stint on those soft tires. So right now, Dr. Cher is your leader. He pitted around lap 50. He has the freshest tires of everyone in the top three. Well, no, of everyone in the top two right now. Second place is Darkster, but Darkster is nowhere close to Cher. And third place is Green. Green has actually done a good job holding on to Darkster. Darkster pitted around lap 25. I believe he put on the soft tires. I don't imagine he would have put on mediums. There wouldn't have been much advantage to that. But Darkster is, while he's not as fast as Cher, is still pounding away after about 60 laps. Excuse me, around 60 laps on this set of rubber. Excuse me. And then we have this fight. F1R Razor pitted way earlier than that 4-car train that he was fighting with, and he ended up ahead of him. Corsi has pulled away from the other drivers in that fight as well. It is J-Reds and then Amoeba. Both of them have really lost the plot. So J-Reds, who qualified second, has just completely fallen off. He is not even in the top 5 right now. Z-Wolf, who pitted a little earlier than everyone around him, has actually gotten track position to get him up into 6th. But I'm interested to see if Corsi is going to be able to run down Razor. Razor pitted a little bit past 50 laps in. Corsi waited much longer to pit, so Corsi will have fresher tires. But right now, Razor has track position. So Green continues to hang out behind Darkster. Ooh, gives Darkster a bit of a push in the corner. Is that Darkster's tires falling off? We've already seen the drivers who pitted earlier making their second... who pitted very early, making their second stop. Could this be the point where now we're seeing Darkster having to deal with a bit of a crossover? Darkster pitted around 25. He might be trying to drag this set of tires out as much as he can to try and force it into a 3-stop strategy. He gained a lot of track position early, but now he's going to have to give it away as the tires fall off, and he has to pay the piper. So Green has muscled his way by Darkster, but right now, your leader is Cher, and he is about 80% of a corner. ahead of the leaders right now. In fact, at this point, I said I would do this earlier. I'm going to do it now. There is your gaps to the race leader in lap time. So Cher is about 3 seconds ahead of Green. Darkster is about a half second behind Green at the moment. Razor, who pitted early of that big group that was in second to fifth, that early pit stop worked out for him, but he is still more than 6 seconds out of the lead, more than 3 seconds behind Green, the guy they were trying to chase down. And then Corsi, who went who went a lot longer, but has actually pulled away since gaining on the soft. He is doing nice and well here in 5th position. Might be raining down Razor. So I think right now it's really only the drivers in the top 5 that have a chance at winning this race. Green, I think, still has the best shot at winning this because his tires are going to be better, longer than Cher's is. And again, the other big question is going to be, excuse me, for STW Tsunami and for several other drivers who pitted way late down to the 70s, are they going to go ahead and try to make it a 2-stop race, a 2-stop affair, and try to go medium, medium, soft? And could Tsunami, if he's really good at managing the tires, is he going to try a medium, soft, soft? Tsunami has worked his way past King Cameroon at this point in the event right now, and now Tsunami is going to be in clean air. He has also gotten by Fishy. Again, Tsunami right now is going to have the fastest, freshest tires on the track, and will have that for a while. Green is still not closing in on Cher. Cher is still pulling away from your pole sitter, ESV Green. Right now, Neville is actually hanging out right behind your current race leader, Dr. Cher, PhD. Oh, and Darkster is finally making his stop. So Darkster could only go, about 65, not even 65, closer to about 60-ish, 59 laps on the softs before they fell off. But Darkster has absolutely stretched the life of those soft tires much, much, much farther than I think a lot of us were anticipating him to be able to do. At the rate this is going, this will be his second pit stop. If he can make it to about lap 145 to 150, he will very obviously make this a 3-stop, and I think he'll recover. The big thing, though, is that Darkster is going to be stressing his tires much, much more than everyone else for the rest of this day. So all this lap time he gained early on, all this track position he gained early on, it's all going to be slowly bleeding away as this race goes on. That is the big thing to consider, because Darkster pitted about 25 laps earlier than your current leader, Cher, and closer to about 35 laps earlier, almost 40 laps earlier for most of the rest of the field. So Darkster got a lot of track position early on. He is currently a lap down, but we anticipate he'll get that lap back once everyone have him pits, and he'll have the speed probably to set some good laps, maybe race back up near towards the leader. But again, for Darkster, the big question is going to be the tire fall off. What kind of tire fall off are we going to be looking at for him? The gap between first and second has opened up to about a 5-second gap at this stage of the race. All right, so F1 Razor and Corsi have caught each other. Mind you, Razor pitted much, much earlier than Corsi about lap 50, but Corsi went much, much longer on the soft. So the interesting thing here is that I don't think these drivers are really going to be stressing really hard on their soft life compared to the drivers ahead of them, well, compared to Cher in particular. But as we look at the tire life, 34% on that right front right now for Razor. As I look at Corsi, who was right behind the pit about 20 laps afterwards, only 24%, so Corsi absolutely has a tire advantage. And mind you, these drivers, when they pit, they are not going to be making full fill-ups in their fuel tank, so the cars are going to be a lot lighter now than where they were earlier. I think Corsi may have the biggest thumbs up because he ran a long time on the medium tires, but I wonder if he's just gotten to grips with the change in handling from medium to soft faster than most of the other drivers, and that's why you've seen him pull away from J-Res. That's why you've seen him pull away from LMP Amoeba. The three of them all came back onto the track around the same place, but Corsi has just ran away from them. I wonder if those other drivers got caught into a rut and got really too used to the medium tires, and all of a sudden on the softs they had a lot more grip, and it took them a few more laps longer to get used to the extra turn, the extra grip, and the extra ability to throttle up than what Corsi had, and that might have been why Corsi's pulled away. I can't guarantee that's it. I don't know everything that's going on, but that's what I think might have been the case. As we see, Darkster is... Sorry, I want to make sure I saw that right. Is Darkster still fighting Green on track? Yes, Darkster has gotten back by Green. Those two were on top of each other earlier before Darkster made a stop. Then after Darkster made a stop, he fell behind Green. Now he has worked his way back by the 72. Does Darkster have enough time to try and run down Dr. Cher? Dr. Cher had pitted about lap 50. So he is going for a very simple three-stop strategy. Pit lap 50, pit lap 1, pit lap 150. Oh, and there's contact. Someone's hit somebody else. That is a yellow car that is way off the racing line. Who is that? That was Joey ST. Something may have gone wrong. Is there any damage on the car? He was involved in that big accident earlier. No, although by a little level of fuel in that car, looks like he's going to be pitting this time by. Zoroliak, who was involved in that big accident with, is going to be pitting as well. What has happened here? Zoroliak is slow. Has something gone wrong? Did he hit the pit lane entry? Oh no, I think Zoroliak may have hit the pit lane entry. And that's going to kill his ability to do anything. And Razor has gotten by Green. What has happened here? Corsi has gotten by Green as well. So yes, Green, he is way better time. Should have slightly better tires in this group, but just not enough. And now Razor and Corsi have gotten back by, and Cher is making a stop about halfway through the race. So Cher making a stop at lap 102, the halfway point. Razor and Corsi still on track, but this is about the point where I imagine we would see Razor make the stop, and they're fighting with Darkster. And mind you, right now Darkster's a lap down, but in overall strategy, Darkster could still be in play for this win here. All four of these drivers, while not all of them are on the same lap relative to each other, could all be fighting for this win. Razor is now going to be leading laps here. Corsi to the inside of SFM Darkster as they're trying to keep Darkster behind. And now here comes Green back by. So I saw that Razor and Corsi were slowly catching Green, but I didn't think they were going fast enough to really catch them in time. The really interesting thing I've got to ask though, Dr. Cher, he is splitting this race in nice, even quarters. Could that be the winning strategy? The first quarter of the race, which was dominated by everyone being on medium tires on full fuel load, Green had it, but since moving to the soft tires, Green has just been slowly dribbling away time. Just does not seem to be able to come to grips with the tire change. Cher right now is in 12th position, but still on the lead lap, and all these drivers here will have to pit sooner rather than later. Corsi, though, is your race leader at the moment, but that is SFM Darkster. And mind you, Darkster has fresher tires than these drivers right now. He wants to get by these people. He wants to get on the lead lap and get away from them as quickly as possible, so that way he's not struggling in dirty air once his tires do start falling off. Again, we anticipate, I could be wrong, but we anticipate that Darkster is trying to do a three-stop strategy and just trying to drag all of these, the second, third, and fourth stints to go ultra low on these tires. Razor now gets to the inside of Corsi. They're side by side. Corsi is going to hold the outside. Razor moves to the inside. Now come back up. They'll still be dead even in a dead heat as they go into turn number 3 now. And ESV Green continues to ride right behind him. These are two drivers that Green pulled away from early in the event, but now he is trapped behind two of them. Now the likes of J-Reds and Amoeba are still about 11 seconds off their group, so it's not really a risk of falling behind them unless he ends up in an instant. But Green, who I thought early on was in a position that he could just walk away, seems like scenarios have changed, and those early pit stops may have helped some of these drivers here. The real interesting thing, though, is Corsi. Corsi pitted later than everyone else here in this fight that is on the lead lap, not including Darkster, because obviously he's not on the lead lap. So Corsi's going to have better tires than all of these people. He went way farther on the mediums earlier, and he got to grip with the softs faster than everyone else. Corsi could be an unexpected sleeper pick to win this race, just off the ability of coming to grips to the tires faster. I was honestly very afraid coming into this event that we would see a walkaway for the win by Green or another ESV driver, but no, that has not been the case. Strategy has absolutely come into play. Draft has come into play, and it's really, really upended how this thing is looking. Darkster now up into 15th as Nebel is making his 3rd stop of the day, and we know that Nebel is almost guaranteed to have to make a 4th stop. still interested to see what the end result's going to be for SDW Tsunami. He is in 5th position, 11 seconds out of the lead right now, but he went so much farther on the mediums. I have to wonder if he's going to try and salvage the tires and go medium, soft, soft. It would be a big ask, but could that be in his playbook for tonight's race to try and unexpectedly launch him to the front off the back of one less pit stop? So Corsi's starting to pull away just a little bit from Razor. Mind you, Razor pitted earlier than Corsi, so his tires will be falling off. And then Green, who is behind, pitted earlier than both of them. No, I think Green pitted, if my memory serves correctly, Green pitted around the same time as Razor. And then we have Z-Wolf, and I do want to say something about Z-Wolf right now. While he's not really in contention for this race win, Z-Wolf was caught in the middle of the field, pitted a little earlier than everyone else around him, and that track position has actually absolutely paid him positive dividends. He is absolutely stretching his legs and scooting away from most of the rest of the field right now. I don't think he's in contention for his race win, but Z-Wolf could very easily be in contention for an overall top 5 result if things go wrong for some of these drivers farther up the grid. Alright, I'm still interested in Dr. Cher. Dr. Cher, who led for most of the second quarter of this race, is still running by himself. He's got soft tires. We know that, the way it looks at least, he is on a strategy that will see him pitting 3 times on lap 52, 102, and probably his final stop will be on lap 152. His soft tires might be hurting a slight amount by the end of the stint, but I do wonder if Cher, by splitting this race so evenly, might be making that good balance between saving the soft tires and utilizing the advantage of pitting early with soft tires. Cher, I think, could be in the overall best position to win, but he is really strong. He's going to have to fight, I think, against Corsi. Corsi pitted later than him. Corsi still has not yet made his second stop, and I do think that Corsi has the potential, no guarantee, but I do think Corsi has the potential to fight back. And F1 Razor, who pitted earlier than Corsi, is going to pit this lap now on lap 112. So Razor, if he can make it another 45 laps in this stint, can also make the final stint last 45 laps as well. Based off of what we saw from Darkster earlier, it looks like the soft tires start going away about 40-45 laps in. So I think Razor might be able to call this right to keep his tires from really falling off to the end of this event. But for these other drivers like Corsi, like Green, I think that they could be in a position where they may have gone a little bit too far on the mediums. I don't know. And for Corsi, he got up to grips with the softs so quickly that may not be an issue for him. Darkster continues to run right behind Corsi, but again, Darkster is on a radically alternate strategy, trying to 3-stop it, but his first stint on the mediums was super short, so it could maximize the benefit of the softs, and now he's just trying to stretch out the gap. Boy, the leader got caught behind C1 Clash in 54, real bad there, and that's also going to back up Darkster a little bit. Clash in 54 is going to hold the inside line for the moment. Here comes Darkster. He'll go around the outside as he continues to give Corsi a slam draft. I do think, though, that this isn't going to work out great for Darkster. I think he has a top 5 in the cards, but as this goes on, and how badly he fell off at the end of that second stint, well, the end of his, second stint, when it came to the tire fell off, I don't know if Darkster is going to be able to salvage enough of the lap time he gained from pitting early, because those tires are going to be really hurting as they go on. Dr. Cher is still in 11th right now. F1R Razor is about 7 seconds behind Dr. Cher. Those two drivers are not on the same strategy. Right now, they're at the same place in their overall strategy. Both of them should only have one more stop left to go. Dr. Cher, though, is going to have to go about 50 laps on his last 2 stints. We're thinking that Razor will only have to go 45 laps. Is those extra 10 laps a fresher soft tire is going to be enough to help bring Razor up in the Cher? I don't know. I'm not going to say no. I'm not sure. All right, so as this is continuing, as Darkster continues to push Corsi around the track, they have opened up about 2.2 seconds on ESV Green. Z-Wolf now has moved up into 3rd. SDW Tsunami is still 4th, about 11 seconds out. seems like Darkser has made the move to get by Corsi, and now he's going to try and stretch out a gap on the leader. So Darkser, the second time today, has gone a lap down to race his way back onto the lead lap, and he's going to have to do it a third time because he's pitting way earlier than everyone else we anticipate. And Darkser is starting to close in on Razor, who has already made a pit stop. He's going to be on fresher tires than Darkser. I do think, though, that maybe Darkser has some sort of advantage. Maybe he's on a wheel or something. But he does seem to be able to be a little faster on his tires, a little longer than everyone else. Not long enough to really save him. But in the first 2/3 of the tire stint, he does seem to be able to maximize the tire life. And then he just kind of falls off at the very end. And he falls off real bad. Corsi is not letting Darkser get away. He's absolutely pushing on Darkser, as we see Dom is board going ahead and making a stop. I would anticipate, because we saw Dom pit with ESV Green earlier in the event, I imagine that we'll see ESV Green pitting in the next lap or two now. Nose to tail for 11th and 12th now. Darkser has caught Razor. Can he get by him nice and quickly? And the big risk for Razor is that if Corsi gets by him, he could end up being in a lot of trouble. Might not be able to get back by Corsi later. Corsi, working with Darkser, is trying to position himself to be well ahead of Razor after the two of them make their final stops. Mind you, Corsi still has not made his second stop. And there is a possibility that Corsi is doing a 2-stop strategy and not a 3-stop. And if Corsi is doing a 2-stopper, either this stint is on softs, or they're really going to try and push the softs to an extreme degree. We know that SDW Tsunami, who's in 4th, would have to force his softs to a ridiculous degree. Corsi would have to do it even more extreme. I would imagine that either this stint is on softs, or maybe they're just going to try and short stint. I don't know, because Corsi is going fast enough. I don't think they're on mediums. I'm pretty confident they're on softs right now. Sadly, in our position in the broadcast booth, we don't have the ability to see what tires everyone is on at this stage of the event. Darkser has now gotten by F1R Razor. Darkser and Razor both have one pit stop left, but they're both going to come at radically different times in the event. And the big question, though, Darkser, his tires are going to be falling off near the end of this tire stint, and they're going to be falling off at the end of the final tire stints as well. Is all this lap time that he's gaining right now going to be enough to save him and keep him ahead of others when he finally has to make those stops? See Darkser get a huge hit from behind by Razor. And this group has continued to pull away from ESV Green as this has gone on. Green dominated in qualifying, dominated the first quarter of this race, and he's still fast, but he's losing touch with the other drivers on track here that are fighting for this. And, well, I said early on I thought it was like an 80% chance that Green was going to win. Watching his pace on the soft tires with smaller fuel tank, he did not seem to gain as much in that performance difference as everyone else. And all that advantage that he had is kind of dribbled away. Mind you, he was well ahead of Corsi for that entire first stint. And now Corsi is a good deal ahead of him. So Razor right now is desperately trying to stay on the lead lap ahead of Corsi and trying to hold station with SFM Darkser. These three drivers all fighting for a potential win, but realistically, with the way that it is going, I think that Darkser is just not really going to have a shot. We see Zeroliak trying to make a move on Neville there, but Zeroliak, after that accident earlier, is 4 laps down. Joey, who had hit him in that big accident, is 5 laps down. Everyone else is either on the lead lap or only 1 lap down, although there is a possibility that we'll see Dama's board go 2 laps down by the end of this race. Maybe we could see Bam Silux go ahead and go 2 laps down by the end of this race as well. Will Darrell is going to be right on the border of maybe going 2 laps down at the end as well. RVN Chaos Fox is now going to pit out of the 10th position. So Chaos Fox pitting now. Mediums will absolutely make it to the end. Softs, 75 laps on soft tires here. I'm not saying it can't be done, but you will be hurting. But Chaos Fox might have made his final stop if you're going for a two-stop strategy. They're going to end up behind Springer. They're going to end up behind C1 Clash in 54. Likely will end up behind Will Darrell. All right, Dr. Care has also gotten by Love Fishy, as Care is not running by himself right now. He is running in a pack of cars. All these drivers all on the same position as each other when it comes to time on track, but they're all on different strategies. And mind you, Amoeba pitted around lap 70 or so with that group near the front. There's a possibility that Amoeba is trying to go for a two-stop strategy. Care would still have to make one more stop, and so will Amoeba, though. We're anticipating Care will make his next stop in about 22 laps with the way this is looking. I think Amoeba would probably make his final stop around that same point as well to try and maximize the stops. I wonder if Amoeba and J-Reds went ahead and put on medium tires for their second stint so they could be sure they weren't going to kill their softs, because they've just not had the pace of Corsi throughout this run. As we now see Corsi, speaking of which, has made a stop, so this puts ESV Green back into the race lead, and Z-Wolf now goes into second. So Corsi pitting on lap 131. I'm running the math in my head. Corsi is either going to have to make this final stint on mediums, or Corsi is going to have to run on softs and either stretch those softs to their absolute limit or make an extra stop in the very ending sections of the race. I imagine that Corsi will maybe go mediums on this final stint here. If Corsi suddenly starts falling back and getting caught by likes of JJ Reds and Amoeba, then we can pretty confidently say that this second stint that they ran was on softs and they're going on mediums to the end. Darkster now moves ahead of Corsi on track for the moment. So I didn't expect that, but that seems to be the case. Corsi is now on track behind Darkster. Now Darkster, though, is on worn out tires. Corsi is now on fresh tires. And if Corsi is on mediums to the end, Corsi will not have to pit again for the rest of this race. Dama's board gets moved up the inside by Corsi. So ESV Green is your leader. He is going farther on this second stint of tires than anyone else, and now I have to wonder, could the reason that seemed like Green fell off be just because he was on mediums and he's going medium soft as well? I didn't think that was going to be a reasonable, serious consideration, but Green is going far enough that he could try and two-stop it and go medium soft. He is leading right now. And if he is doing a medium soft strategy, then he is only going to pick up the pace in the final quarter. I assumed, and assuming he makes an ass out of me and you, I apologize, but when I'm left with limited information, I kind of have to do it. I assumed that Green got onto the softs, but if he got onto the mediums and everyone else got onto the softs around him, that could be the big change, and maybe Green really is still the driver who's going to be at the head of all this. The big question, though, of course, is the likes of Corsi, because Corsi ran down Green in this middle stint and got by him and opened the gap quite a bit. Now, if Corsi's on mediums now and Green is now going to be on softs, we could see that gap suddenly invert and go the other way around. The other question is going to be the likes of SCW Tsunami. Tsunami is still closing on Green, and Tsunami went much farther on the first stint of tires than everyone else. Tsunami could be trying to do something like what Darkster's doing, but instead of hyper-stretching the softs 3 times, he might only be trying to hyper-stretch the softs twice on a 2-stop, going medium soft. He's still closing on Green, but he's going to have to pit sooner rather than later, and the gap and advantage between Tsunami and Green may not be as great as he'd want it to be. Dr. Chair, who is on a 3-stop strategy, is 16 seconds behind Green. And the big thing is, though, all these drivers ahead of Chair have not made their final stop. Chair still has to make his final stop as well, so I hate to say it, that 16-second gap might be permanent. I do think that Chair is on softs and is probably absolutely plugging away and working away at Green's advantage, but more than likely, I don't see him being able to make this time up before Green inevitably makes his stop. The big question, of course, is going to be when is Green going to get off the mediums? I'm assuming he's on mediums, and I'm pretty sure he's on mediums in the stint, and throw on the softs. And how much faster is he actually going to be on the softs? I was wrong for a good chunk of this race. I thought he would medium softs, but no, he has gone. I'm 90% positive medium. Hence why he has not really upped his pace. But now he is back in the lead, and all the drivers around him or behind him are on radically fringe strategies trying to make something happen. I hate to say it, but Green might still walk off with this. It's not going to be as easy as we thought, but I think he might still be able to walk off with this, but he will be on the back foot trying to make up ground and trying to make overtakes in the final run. So Green, by making his final stop late, is likely going to end up behind several of these drivers he has to fight. Drivers like Darkster, like Corsi, and he will have to manually overtake them on track. Dr. Share is still closing slowly but surely on Green. There's just not enough time left. As you see, third place, Z-Wolf is now going to go ahead and make a stop. Again, I said before, Z-Wolf was caught kind of in the middle of the field, not very competitive early on, but he got into the pits earlier than everyone else, and honestly, I think he's going to be able to pull off a potential top 5 result, depending on how this race turns out. So Dr. Share has made 2 stops, and we know that he is on a 3-stop strategy. Z-Wolf is going to have to go about 62 laps on the next set of tires he puts on. If he puts on softs, he'll be hurting near the end. If he puts on mediums, he's just not going to be fast enough to maximize it. Again, that's the main reason why I think Z-Wolf doesn't really have a shot at the win, because either way, he either is going to lose a little bit of time across the entire stint, or he's going to lose a lot of time at the end of the stint. I think Z-Wolf has a shot at the top 5, but maybe not much more than that. And ESV Green is now pitting with 61 laps to go. So this is going to be the wild card. And SCW Tsunami is joining him in the pits. So Tsunami is going to mirror Green's pit stop strategy. I hate to say it, but that pretty much takes Tsunami out of contention for this race win by default. We're going to see Cher get by them shortly here. Now Cher is going to be low fuel, but also worn tires. So 2 different things. One working in his favor for lap times, one working against him in lap times. But again, I'm anticipating to see Cher pit in about 10 laps here. Where is he going to be relative to Green and Tsunami and Corsi? And that's the other thing as well. Corsi. Where are they going to end up relative to ESV Green? Well, they've gotten by Green now. And they are opening the gap on ESV Green. But if Green is put on the softs and Corsi is on the mediums like we anticipate, we're going to see Green have to manually drive his way up and get by Corsi for this position. There's also Darkster, who is in 6th position, and F1R Razor, who's in 7th. Razor, no guarantee, but I think Razor is on a 3-stop strategy here at this stage of the event. Oh, and Razor's dropped out! No! Well, so much for that. But with Razor having dropped out, that takes him out of that fight. He was one of the top 5 contenders early on, but now he is going to drop out. So Darkster is ahead of Corsi, but Darkster has got way worse tires and has to stretch these tires way farther than Corsi does, and Darkster may have to just give up and make an extra stop here. And then Corsi is going to be going a little farther. All right, coming into the party right now is F1R Razor. Razor in the Xbox party. Go ahead, include your audio. What do you have to say about that run? It's a shame that it's come to an end so early.
Man, that was definitely a good run we had going there. Unfortunate, but is what it is.
All right, I do want to ask real quickly. You were in that big fight from about 2nd to 5th for the first 4 of the race, but then you pitted earlier than everyone else. Was your pit strategy making a 3-stopper around lap 50, 100, 150, or are you going to try to do something crazy and make a 2-stopper like we're seeing so many of these other drivers attempting?
I was gonna go and do the 3-stopper there, just to see if I could try to undercut some people and just to try something different. Because, you know, Green got so far ahead after that first little run there before pit stops, and I'm like, you know, probably we'll try something. Try something different.
Alright, well, sad to see that all came unravel. I do want to say thank you for jumping in and talking with us. Shame to see it's gone the way it has. I do have to ask, at this stage of the race, who do you think has the best chance of winning the event today?
I'd have to say, of course, I think he might have the best chance here. But he's going to have to stretch it pretty far on tires.
Well, seems like it's exactly what he's trying to do right now. But anyways, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Same to see you drop out like this.
Yeah. It is what it is.
All right, we're also going to try and reach out to Joey ST here real quick. All right, so now we're seeing a bunch of drivers pitting. Reds is pitting, Amoeba is pitting, Clash and 54 is pitting. Now we anticipate all these drivers went medium, softs right now, so they're going to be faster than the drivers ahead. And now we see Darkser. Darkser is going to be forced into making what will be their 3rd pit stop. So no, Darkser is going to have to do a 3-stop. Tried to maybe stretch this 2-stop, wasn't going to happen. So Darkser forced into a 3-stop. Now, he will have some good tires to the end of this race, but still has not gone quite as well as he wanted it to. So now the fight is really just between 4C and Green, and the big problem is going to be that when it comes down to it, Green is right behind Corsi, and we believe that Green is on fresher rubber right now than what Corsi is on. All these other drivers gained back a lot of time in the 2nd and 3rd quarter of the race, but now Green seems to have been unleashed. We know that 2nd position, 3rd position will have to pit. We know that Dr. Care is going to be pitting very shortly as well. Well, that was easy. Corsi didn't even fight back. I was about to start hyping it up, but no, Green just walks by like there's no problem at all. So yeah, there's Dr. Care making his final stop. Now, one thing that will work partially against Green is that he is going to be on worse tires compared to a lot of these other drivers who are making their pit stops now. The thing is, though, that Green just has such a massive on-track advantage over everyone else that may not really matter here. Corsi did not even try to fight with Green for this position. As you see Cher going ahead and in the pits now, we're going to see him likely drop out of the top 6 positions or so. Tsunami is on the same strategy as ESV Green at the moment, but has been slower than Green most of the day. So I think Tsunami's shot at doing anything is done. I do think that Tsunami did a good job making up a good amount of time in that 2nd stint. He was a midfield driver and then has put himself in potentially a podium position. But yeah, race win I think is just about over unless Green gets caught up real bad in traffic or something. The medium, soft strategy for Green seemed to have worked. Even though so many people were talking about how, look, on soft tires you can make up the time in the pits, we saw that this is just not the case here. So we're going to go ahead and ride on board with about 2-3 laps with ESV Green So you get an idea what a lap is like on board. One of the fastest drivers we've had all day today as we go silent in the booth. All right, and that is several laps on board with ESV Green, who took the pole, dominated the first stand of the race, but by virtue of, we believe, going medium soft, was just pulled away from the field. And while he will have people behind him who are going to be faster, it looks like they are not going to have time to catch him. Corsi is on medium tires and is going to be slower than Green for the rest of this race. SCW Tsunami is on the same tires as Green and is just too far behind. Dr. Chair is on softs that are going to be about 10 laps better than Green, but he is about half a lap behind our leader right now. And then J-Reds is in 5th, and we believe that J-Reds is on softs, but is even more than half a lap behind. Right now, it seems like everything's kind of settled down. One thing I am interested in is what can SFM Darkster do? How much time will he have to make up the time that he's lost from going so much longer earlier? Here's something else interesting, though. At this stage in the race, of the 20 stars we have, 18 of them are still running. Joey had that big wreck with Zoroliak earlier, but dropped out like 100 laps afterwards due to their own issues. And then Zoroliak is kind of stuck in 18th no man's land. He basically needs another accident if he wants to gain any more positions. But over half of the starting grid is still on the lead lap. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last. One thing to consider is that the leader is still about like a full corner behind the likes of Fishy and Amoeba and Darkster right now. But yeah, I don't know if Green's going to actually catch him and be able to put him a lap down or anything. As we look at the gaps on track right now, first to fourth is a 16-second gap, and while Cher absolutely has better tires to the end, I don't see it going to be enough for him to do anything. Z-Wolf is 6th. Z-Wolf, I thought he had a shot at the top 5, but it looks like the way that everything is shaking out, I think 6 is going to be the best he can get. RV and Chaos Fox has kind of recovered back to roughly where they qualified. There is a bit of a fight for 10th and 11th that we see right now. So Amoeba, who had been way higher up in that fight for the top 5, has just kind of lost the plot, lost way too much time on track, and while I think they'll be able to stay on the lead lap, I don't think they're going to be able to go any higher than 10th to the end of this race, barring another accident between drivers. Although, if I remember correctly, Amoeba was also the one who damaged his car and told the car trying to come into the pit lane. So that would obviously be part of the reason why he is so far back compared to the other drivers he had been fighting, like J-Reds and Corsi. J-Reds, who qualified second, spent a long part of this race fighting in that positions from second to fifth. Looks like fifth is going to be the best they can pull out. Dr. Cher was nowhere close to the front, but went ahead and pitted around lap 52, split the race into pretty much even sections. That strategy seems to have worked to get him into the top 5, but he's 10 seconds out of third. I think the podium's just not in play for him. In the end, it seems like the 2-stop strategy is keen, and while I do think that Tsunami might have gone medium, soft, soft, I think he lost too much time pressing the first stint of mediums to soft so long that he can't actually do anything. I do think Tsunami has an outside chance of stealing second position from Corsi, because Tsunami is still going to be on soft, while Corsi, who I believe went medium, soft, medium, Corsi is just on older tires that, while they aren't going to fall off, they just don't have a lot of that natural grip, so we could see a fight for second here. But first, the SV Green continues to scoot away from the field, and I do apologize to everyone for getting everyone's hopes up for a non-ESV winner in a TORA race, but sorry to say that Green got it, and you can't say, oh, well, ESV had some special build. No, this was, Green pulled off a good strategy. He did have luck, but interestingly enough, Green's luck wasn't avoiding instance. Green's luck was the fact that Neville pitted lap 1, ended up right ahead of him, and used the draft to basically pull Green away from the field. If that didn't happen, if Neville didn't pit lap 1, if he waited even 3 laps to pit, I think we could be talking about a very, very different scenario here, where Green, while still would be near the front, would be a lot closer to the likes of Corsi and Tsunami at this stage of the race. But those early laps, that first 30 or so laps that he had running behind a lapped car, has really worked out in his favor, gave him a massive time advantage, and it looks like, after we finally figured out he committed to a 2-stop and not a 3-stop, that time advantage is going to be what gets him this position. So Tsunami has caught Corsi, and just like last time with Green, Corsi is not even really going to try and fight back. So Corsi just continues to dribble away time, and now slips back to the 3rd position. Corsi is keeping up with Tsunami's tire tracks, but that's it. And again, Tsunami is on the exact same tire life as Green right now. So unless Green gets involved in an incident, and like he has to take damage for it not to happen. Unless Green gets involved in an incident, I just see no way that Tsunami can catch. Great strategy call by Tsunami, I think, has pulled off a medium soft stop to pull himself up to second. But that time advantage that Green pulled off earlier by running the draft to someone on soft tires just ended up being so massively important here. Springa has gone a lap down at this stage of the race. Love Fishy and Amico are the next 2 drivers at risk of going a lap down, but they still have a decent gap between themselves and the leader right now. In fact, honestly, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th are all relatively close to each other on circuit. And credit where credit is due, SFM Darkster, while he has been forced to go 3 stops, it was almost inevitable. I tried to hype up maybe a 2-stop because I thought maybe he had some crazy strategy that I wasn't aware of, but he has gone 3 stops. But yeah, despite all the interest with the strategies, it looks like, with the exception of Tsunami and Cher, everyone is going to end up roughly where they started. Z-Wolf is a little bit of an exception. Z-Wolf looks like they're going to gain some positions overall off the back of strategy. Cher is going to gain some positions overall off the back of strategy. He was the first person to commit to a 3-stopper that wasn't massively shortening the first stint. So I think that's really going to bring Cher home into 4th. We've got about 30 laps left. There is a possibility that Cher could catch Corsi by the end of this race, but I don't see that happening. J-Reds is honestly probably the biggest disappointment. J-Reds hasn't really done anything wrong, but he went what we believe was a medium soft strategy. But he jumped onto the softs maybe a little bit too early. And while he is faster than some of the drivers ahead, I think he's just not really in a position to gain any spots. He might, if something happens to Dr. Chair, he might get Chair and get by him. But I do think right now our top 5 are pretty much locked in to their finishing positions. The biggest wild card is just going to be how much time is Corsi going to bleed off being trapped on the mediums on this final run to the end here. So we have a fight for 6 right now. 2 different kinds of lupines, Z-Wolf and Chaos Fox going at it right now. Z-Wolf runs in 6th, Chaos Fox in 7th. I believe Chaos Fox has slightly fresher tires at this stage of the event. See Fox looking to the inside of Wolf. Drag race out of turn 2 into turn 3. They're neck and neck. And yeah, Chaos Fox goes right by Wolf. So Wolf also seems to be dribbling away a little bit of their advantage that they gained from strategy earlier. Reds is honestly catching Cher on merit, and Cher is still closing on Corsi, but Reds is going to catch Cher before either of them catch Corsi, so we may have a fight for 4th before a potential fight for 3rd. Thing is, if Reds and Cher spends too much time fighting each other for that 4th position, Corsi might be able to stay ahead of them and hold on to 3rd. Also, Darkster and Cameron have caught this fight, and Chaos Fox is now making a stop. I thought Chaos Fox might have had enough to go to the end, but that is not the case. If you're making a stop in the last 4 laps of a race, I hate to say it, you're kind of screwed, and this will likely trap Chaos Fox a lap down. So Darkster now gets by Cameron and Z-Wolf, so Z-Wolf really fading out here in the latter stages of this race. So for all the interest in the mid part of the race over the different strategies, all of that seems to have gone away now. Everyone seems to end up in roughly a similar position to where they started. Even Nebel is about in the same spot in the field where he started this race at. And mind you, Nebel had to do an entire extra stop because he pitted lap 1. So he committed to a 4-stop strategy. The gap between 3rd and 4th has closed to about 6 seconds. The gap between 4th and 5th seems to have stabilized at about 2. This is really the most interesting fight on track right now. This fight from 6th to about 10th, honestly. All these drivers were on top of each other, and someone else is pitting. Who is that? That is BAM Silux. Silux committed to a radical strategy early on, but did not really get the track position advantage of it, and now he has to pay the piper. Will still likely be 17th simply because Zerliak is just so many laps down compared to everyone else after that early accident. Something appears to have gone wrong with the ticker potentially. Don't know what's happened there. And that is Will Darrell, and Darrell was also making another stop late in the last 21 laps of the event, so, a lot of drivers near the rear of the field seem to have had a lot more trouble making a functioning strategy than we thought would happen. Darkster and Cameron can continue to fight right now for 6th. Are they going to catch Z-Wolf, though? That's my big question. Do they have any shot at catching Not Z-Wolf, I mean J-Reds. If they can catch J-Reds, that could be interesting, but that's a big gap, and Reds right now pounding out some of his best laps thus far today. I'm not sure it's going to happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. Cameron continues to give Darkster a big push here. The gap between first and second has opened up to 8 seconds, so like I said earlier, unless Green ends up in an accident in these closing laps, this event is over for the top 2 positions. There is a possibility for a fight for the final step on the podium between Corsi, Cher, and J-Reds. As 4th and 5th are closing on Corsi. Corsi, again, has medium tires, we believe, while Cher and J-Reds are both on softs in this final stint. So behind Darkster and Cameron is Fishy and Amoeba. They are running 8th and 9th and really pushing right now, just trying to stay on the lead lap. Z-Wolf is in 10th position at the moment. It's got Nebel behind. Again, though, Nebel is basically an entire extra lap down compared to the rest of the field, considering he had to make that extra pit stop. But Nebel is trying to work with Z-Wolf to get away from Domina's board and at least salvage a 14th. I think 13th is kind of out of the question for him. Chaos Fox literally just pitted only a few laps ago, so we'll be on nice fresh rubber to the end here. And you can see that red car in the background. That is your race leader, ESV Green. Now, Green is going to catch this traffic, has to make do with this traffic, but with an 8-second gap, he can afford to just kind of hang out and be cautious. He obviously can't just hang out behind them. Tsunami will run him down if he just hangs out behind them, but he can afford to be slow and cautious trying to get by them. And that is Nebel, who now goes to the inside of Z-Wolf. So we look at 4th position. Dr. Cher, PhD. Looks like he's going to be the highest finishing of all the drivers who committed to a 3-stop strategy. Everyone else in the top 5 went to a 2-stop strategy. So pretty significant run by Dr. Cher if this all holds out like we're anticipating it should. Final 15 laps of this race. Right now, Green runs in station right behind Wolf. So Z-Wolf potentially going to be going a lap down shortly here. I was really excited for Wolf earlier. He gained a lot of position. I didn't think he had a shot for the win, but it looked like he could have made a top 5, but the strategy has just kind of come undone, and he gets put into the wall by Green. Not intentionally. I'm not saying that Green did it intentionally, but definitely some contact that knocked that blue Mazda into the outside wall. So Z-Wolf now goes a lap down. Only the top 9 still on the lead lap, and the next driver that that could potentially go a lap down here would be Amoeba and Fishy. They are 8th and 9th, about 3 seconds up the road from Green at the moment. Green right now is running just behind, I believe that is Nebel. And ironic, considering that these two were right on top of each other for the first 30 laps of this race. And now in the last 30 laps, it's the same thing. Nebel barely trying to keep him going another lap down compared to Green. Gap between 3rd and 4th has now shrunk down to 4 seconds. 5th is not really closing on Cher, PhD by much at all. Well, Corsi was using the draft off of some lap cars ahead to stay ahead of Cher and J-Reds, but now he's basically lost that draft. You see him go by frame right there. So yeah, right now, Cher and J-Reds are absolutely running Corsi down. So we will have a fight at least for third to the end of this race. How long is it going to take for Cher to get by Corsi? Because if it takes too long, you could end up in a really, really frustrating scenario for Cher where J-Reds catches him and then gets by him because Cher spends too much time fighting with Corsi. As we ride on board with Dr. Cher here, that car up ahead, that is Corsi, the person he's trying to run down, but with less than 10 laps left, I don't know if he's going to have the time to catch them. He's got fresh tires. He is less than 3 seconds away from Corsi. J-Reds is behind, close enough to maybe get a scent of the draft, but not enough to really do anything. That is the real fight, although there is another fight that is going on for 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, as those four cars are all fighting amongst each other, and they're all going to be hoping that when they fight, they don't end up screwing each other over and going a lap down. ESV Green is in completely clean air, about 9 seconds ahead of second place at the moment. As we ride on board real quickly with Amoeba, who's trying to push Fishy up to Cameron and Darkster, who are ahead of them. Cameron and Darkster are so tightly packed right now that from our position on board with Amoeba, you can't really see two different cars very often. It just looks like one long car almost. Oh, Darkster's a little wide, and now Cameron's got to run on the inside. Cameron falls back in line behind Darkster, though. But that little hiccup let Fishy get a tow, and now Fishy can try and run down on them. Fight for third is just about to heat up here in these closing 5 laps. Cher is running Corsi down. It's about a 1.2 second gap between the duo right now. Cher, who was the first driver to commit to a 3-stop strategy, has absolutely made it work. He was a midfielder, but he is now fighting for a potential third place. J-Reds is in tow, but with how few laps are left, there may not be enough time for Reds to get by Corsi. But Cher is trying to punch way above his weight class to drag this 888 machine into the podium positions. He's now within a second. He'll be getting a nice draft off of Corsi down the straights. As the race leader comes by a line, it will be 4 laps to go. Corsi is on medium tires. They're not falling off. They're just not very fast. Cher is on softs that have got some wear on them, but they are still going to be faster at this stage of the event because Cher has done great at making sure the softs only have to go about 50 laps in all of his soft tire stints. J-Reds is actually starting to lose the plot as now Dr. Cher has caught Corsi's draft. Corsi did not put any real fight up against Green or Tsunami. Is he going to try and fight Cher for the third position? Looking to the outside, that's an interesting decision. Might try a crossover Corsi on corner exit. Three laps left for this duo. Corsi inside, Cher outside. So Corsi is going to make this really difficult for the 888 machine, and the longer these two fight, there is a possibility that Reds will catch them both on the last lap. Now the crossover coming out turn 2. Now, Cher is on the inside and Corsi is on the outside. This might be all that Cher needs. He makes the move. He's by. Corsi puts the bumper to Cher mid-corner. But unless Cher has a really bad run out of one of these corners, I think that's it. And Dr. Cher is going to be able to pull off a podium. Fifth place is just not close enough to do anything. Farther back, King Cameron has gotten by SFM Darkster. Darkster should have better tires at this stage of the event, but it just seems like it's not mattering. Cameron is just good enough to keep it together. Now we see Fishy gain by Darkster's inside. We know that Darkster had to go for a really, really ballsy strategy, and in the last lap here, we were seeing Darkster kind of falling back to the position that he was. But the person who matters the most, realistically, is going to be this man here, ESV Green. Comes out of the final corner and will cross the line and will win here the MX-200 at Eagle Rock. Second place, probably the most unexpected second place finisher, SDW Tsunami. Third place is going to go to Dr. Share. Fourth place is going to go to Corsi. Fifth place will go to RZX J Reds. And then you have this big fight from 6th to 9th. Boy, is this a fight. Love Fishy has got to run. And Fishy gets 6th. Cameron 7th. Darkster slips to 8th. Amoeba 9th. And there's a, whoa, almost a crash. I don't know how in the world they kept together. And Z-Wolf is going to just barely. So it looked like Green let Wolf by as they came to a start-finish line. So Z-Wolf will finish on the lead lap in 10th after Green lets out in the final corner to let Wolf get on the lead lap. Springo will be the last lap car, the first of the lap cars, followed by Clash M54, RV and Chaos Fox, Neat Bull 8433. Then Dominus World will finish 2 laps down. Bam Silix 3, Will Daryl 3, and Zeruliak will be last of our finishers. 5 laps down after that giant accident that happened earlier in the event. Alright, well, this is pretty much it. We're just waiting on Zeruliak to finish his final laps, and then the event will be over. Taking a little longer than we thought, just because Zeruliak got caught so many laps down due to that accident early on between himself and Joey ST25. Alright, looks like we'll be waiting just a little bit on interviews, but as we look real quickly, this is your final results. Oh, well, okay, thank you, game. And there are your podium finishers. Dr. Share came home in 3rd, SCW Tsunami came home in 2nd, and your race winner, ESV Green. And that is your podium results there, and coming into the party right now is RZX J Reds. Reds, go ahead, include your audio. 5th place finish after you ran as high as 2nd for a good chunk of this race. What do you have to say about your performance today, Reds?
I think personally the race was kind of decided on the first 5 laps. I don't know who it was that went a lap down and basically just trailed, or not trailed, but just led Green in a way that pulled me away, and I couldn't stay in the draft for long. And then I just was in a battle there with Amoeba course, and then I believe that was Razor as well. And yeah, I just couldn't really recover up from it, but still a top 5. I'll take it at the end of the day.
All right, you still seem to have a pretty good car, all things considered. Anything of any other significance you want to say? Because I'm not to be problematic, I didn't really see you a whole lot after that first stop. You seem to be on a decidedly unique strategy compared to the likes of Corsi, who ended up ahead of you. And I didn't really see you again until near the very end. But, like, is there anything else of note that you want to share about that run today?
Just kind of got unlucky with, I mean, obviously, battling there before the first stop. And, I knew the race, eventually, whoever's going to win this race is whoever is going to stay behind and just draft off one another to basically win. And yeah, I just got unlucky. I couldn't really stay behind anyone. The people that I did catch were just had like dead tires, or I'm trying to think. Or just couldn't drive the track properly, so but yeah, that's about it.
All right, well, either way, 5th place finish at least. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. All right, now I want to go ahead and turn to the head of the field. ESV Green, fastest person in qualifying, and you weren't even happy with your best qualifying lap. Fastest person in the first quarter of the race, and in the final quarter, you go and take home the victory. It didn't look easy, though. Walk us through that race from your perspective, mate. Also, make sure to include your audio in the Xbox party. I hear you. In the Xbox party, there will be like a little checkbox that will say include party audio, and that will turn your audio on the Twitch stream.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
All right, cool. So yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Green, and walk us through that race from your perspective.
Yeah, so at the start, I knew that it would be very difficult to make a gap to the guys behind me because of the paces that we were all running. It was all very close. So instead of thinking about trying to like outpace them or break the draft, it kind of just came to me being lucky with a back marker coming in because they put it on softs, and then I just basically just towed them. I managed to get away, and then as I was on mediums, I could have ran up to 75 laps, but I decided to pit on lap 66 to basically just play with the back markers and gather slipstream. It was way faster to be behind a guy on softs than try and run it on your own. And so, but with pitting early, there was a compromise of having to run on dead tires, which I think I managed pretty well. I ran a full stint of 75 laps on my second stint on mediums, and then I had to stretch out the softs a little bit. Yeah, I was struggling at the end of the race, but I didn't lose as much time. And yeah, was it 8 seconds? No, 9 seconds ahead.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely paid off being able to utilize the back markers in such a short circuit.
All right, so just to verify, medium, soft was your strategy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, great performance out here. Another win for the ESV team in a TORA sanctioned event. What else can we look forward to seeing you do in the next few weeks or months?
Well, I've got a race with Zeit later today. It's probably going to be also streamed. I think it's going to be streamed. But yeah, I'll be in that race. It's also on Eagle Rock. It's in the it's with the NASCAR Stone instead though, instead of MX-5s. It's going to be pretty fun.
All right, good luck, because Gen 7s do not overtake very well around Eagle Rock. But anyways, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, and I'm glad to see that you were able to at least have a fun event, even if it seemed like the results were kind of lottery randomized almost. You did pull off a pretty good event and a good comeback at the end, so great job out there, and thanks for jumping in and talking with us.
Thank you.
I also want to go ahead and talk with our second place finisher, SCW Tsunami. Tsunami, go ahead, include your audio. I could be wrong. I think you're the only person who may have gone medium, soft on that pit strategy. Am I right?
I believe so, yes. I still think that was the best strategy to go with today. Unfortunately, just started a little too deep in the pack. I think I started around 10th place overall, and that first run on the first set of tires between 6th through 10th, we just couldn't sort out who was going to pull the pack. The guys in front of us were drafting really well together and just pulled a pretty good gap on us. And yeah, 6th through 10th just kept battling for position. By the time we sorted it out, it was too late. We were too many seconds behind. But strategy definitely got me back up to the front there and is what put me in 2nd place. If I could have started 1st or 2nd row with Green, I would have stayed on his bumper the whole race, but that's just how it goes. Got to qualify better.
All right, well, it also seems like Green may have gotten really lucky with back marker, to be exact. It was the 14th place finisher of Neville pitting super early and giving him a tow basically the entire first stint. But yeah, I will say very quickly, like, I am really, really impressed on that strategy you pulled off. The entire race, I was trying my best to try and keep track of everyone's strategies, the entire broadcast. And then about, like, 4 laps before you made your first pit stop, I kind of realized, oh my gosh, is Tsunami going to go medium, soft, soft? Like, I didn't think anyone else could do it. I thought that if you were going to make a 2-stopper, it would have to be medium, soft, medium. But no, you pulled it off. I'm honestly really, really impressed you did it. Because as far as I can tell, no one else tried the same thing. And it definitely paid off. I'm really, really impressed that you made that work. That is some incredible car control and tire management that you have.
Well, it was really just some simple math. I sat down and calculated out how much time I would lose to stretch a few laps on each set of tires versus going an extra set of mediums. I knew that 2 stops was the way. And sitting there and doing the math on it, I knew that going medium, soft, soft would be a few seconds quicker overall. And every second matters here, especially when we're competing against another lobby that you couldn't see on the stream. So, yeah, it really came down to that, and it helped a lot. But it was really cool to have Rockstory trailers on the side of the car. That is an actual real-life business. My best friend growing up sells trailers out of New Jersey, so if anybody tuning in, listening, needs a new race hauler or just a simple work trailer, you name it, and you're in the New York, New Jersey area, hit him up. He makes some really good deals. It's really cool to have him in a car on an esports race.
Well, anyways, thanks for jumping in to the broadcast, Tsunami. Great job on pulling that off. I look forward to maybe seeing you in the future and other things. And with that in mind, that will pretty much wrap up our broadcast for the MX-200 here. Now, if you want more racing action, don't worry. In a few hours, I will be covering the IASC GT3 race at Hockenheim a little bit later today. That might be a little bit smaller field than what we're used to, but I encourage you to jump in and watch us cover that later today. Until then, though, I have been your host, InsaneLayer13. Thank you very much for joining us for today's broadcast, and I will see you guys in the future. Until then, stay safe and goodbye.